Hey everyone, and welcome back to my brain. So, what I'm going to be doing today is my interpretation of the Inside Out challenge. An incredible makeup artist, Lil Moonchild. I will link her in the description. She did something completely incredible, and it's gone pretty viral. So, what it's all about is she does half her face in how she portrays herself to the world, which I have already done. I standardly just rock, foundation, mascara, wing liner, brows, kind of like the basics. But on the other half of her face, she does what she pictures her insides look like, so what her mental illness looks like. So I'm going to be doing that today. So if you've already kind of know anything about me, you've read my blog, you read my dialogue projects, voices, you know that I suffer from depression, anxiety, PTSD from childhood trauma. My dad passed away. I was self-harming for many, many years. Really, I've just got a whole plethora of characteristics of mental illness. Now, over the last couple years in working through that, coping, dealing, all that type of stuff, I kind of have taken it and separated it from me as kind of a coping mechanism. So I almost picture my mental illness as a separate entity. It's a dark, shadowy figure that just kind of hangs out here and seems to reach up and slap me in the face whenever I least expect it. So I'm going to be kind of doing an encompassing of that. So I've got all my products in front of me. You can't see them, but step by step, we're going to kind of go through it and I'll show you what I'm doing. Okay, here goes nothing. So I figure the best place to start is, as with any shadowy figure, let's get some shadows going, shall we? Okay, so I'm just going to kind of mix blacks and grays, and I'm just going to shadow in all of those areas that would standardly be shadowed. So I'm going to shadow my eyes. Now, in dealing with mental illness for as long as I have now, I find that talking more openly about it has really helped me quite a bit. Even 3 years ago, talking as openly as I talk now was just such the scariest thought and feeling in the whole world. But, people have been super, super receptive to me being so open and honest. A lot of people, when I talk about it, they're like, oh my God, thank you so much for, talking about this stuff. You're so brave. You're so incredible. And, as great as it is to hear, I wish it wasn't necessarily brave to talk about mental illness. But if that's what it needs to be right now, then I guess I'll just keep talking about it. What's so funny is I have no problem whatsoever kind of talking about it with strangers or people that I just met or the internet. But talking about it with my family has always been quite challenging. Now, don't get me wrong, my family is super supportive. They're probably the most proud of me out of everybody because, I hit it for a lot of years, especially self-harm. The last thing you ever want to do is admit to, your mom that you cut the shit out of yourself. But, now that I'm more openly talking about it, they're almost like proud to say, oh yeah, my sister or my daughter, she bravely talks about mental illness and mental health. And I get my cousins reaching out to me, which is so incredible because a lot of them I don't talk to kind of on a regular basis. And I feel like this is a way that I can kind of tell them, this is who I am. And this is why it was always so challenging for me to be kind of involved with everything that we were doing. So, now that I've kind of really shouted out with this platform, starting this and really kind of being involved with it all. Actually, I almost feel closer to my family, but it's still hard to admit these types of things to people that you care about, because you never want them to think of you in a bad way. Or, the hardest part is trying to explain to my mom that it's not her fault, that this is just a chemical imbalance in my brain and she didn't do anything wrong, and that her and my dad were always so great, and that it was never anything that they had done or didn't do that made me this way. It's just kind of how it all rolls out. So, I always find that a little bit hard, because advocating for mental health means that a lot of the time you need to advocate for your own mental health first. So, admitting and saying, I know that this is hard for you to accept, but it's not really about you kind of idea. And it always makes me feel a little bit selfish to be like, no, it's, this isn't about you, it's about me, and it's my struggle, and I'm taking care of it kind of in the best way possible. So I feel like the black, not only around the eye, but kind of in those crevices, really speaks to the exhaustion and the beat down feelings that I get when I'm in a pretty hefty kind of depressive episode. They tend to sneak up on me a lot more now. I don't even really know they're happening until I'm in the thick of it. Panic attacks are always a little bit easier because I get a lot of physical panic attack symptoms before I get like the actual panic attack. My hands tend to go pretty numb, and I just feel pretty almost like I'm underwater, if that makes any sense. It's very exhausting and exhaustive process, a panic attack, but at least with a panic attack, I find that if I can either do my exercises that I've been so beautifully taught by my amazing therapist, I do something called 5-4-3-2-1, which is a really, really helpful and useful tool. So when you start to feel a panic attack coming on, you do, 5 things you can see, 4 things you can hear, 3 things you can smell, 2 things you can taste, and 1 thing that you know. The other thing that's so important when it comes to panic attacks is putting both feet on the ground. Ground yourself so that you know that it's just scenery. It'll pass. That's another really key thing to remember with panic attacks and stuff like that, or when you're going through something really hard and your memories are popping up. You need to remember that it's just scenery and you've made it thus far. My last blog post before I decided to do this YouTube channel was a thank you to my therapist, Leslie. She, I don't think she'll ever fully grasp how much of a difference she made in my life, and I hope that if she reads my blog or watches these videos or anything like that, she'll understand that I'm eternally grateful to her for not only helping me, realize so many things, but also giving me the tools to kind of still be a person, I guess, is the best way to talk about it, because I don't think I would even remotely be where I am today, especially in, how I talk about mental illness and even how I deal with my own illness, if it wasn't for her. So, if you're in that pinnacle kind of, is this what it is? Am I, ever going to feel better kind of idea, definitely reach out. I know it's really hard to get help and ask for help and all that type of stuff, but I don't think I'd be standing here today if I didn't not only ask for help, but kind of get help forced on me. So thanks, Mom, for forcing the help. I greatly appreciate it. So now when my depression and anxiety and all that stuff kind of really reaches up and slaps me in the face, I get a really powerful influx of emotions that I can't even begin to control. So nothing beats a good mascara-y cry fest. So I'm going to throw some really imperfect mascara. Now I'm a makeup artist by profession, if you will. I work in the makeup industry and stuff like that. So I really know the key importance of, putting your face on, if you will. And I've been known to call my mom first thing in the morning, really just distraught and pulled apart and, going, nope, I'm going to hide behind my eyeliner. I'm going to put it on and just kind of like handle it. But sometimes my depression makes me feel terribly ugly. Inside, outside, everything. Like, I can't quite grasp, I can't feel like putting on good clothes and putting makeup on and doing all that type of stuff because I just feel so terribly broken apart. So I think, the idea of having kind of a bit of ugliness to this kind of experience is perfect, because if there's one thing my depression makes me is feel just completely broken apart. Crying all my mascara off and tracks of it running down my foundation and all that different type of jazz. But I think that it's important to realize that makeup does a number of different things. It not only gives us the power to change perspective and, hide a little bit, but it also gives us the ability to go, you know what, I feel my absolute ugliest. I'm going to put the boss's smoky eye on and I'm going to rock that powerful red lip and I'm going to handle it kind of idea. So I'm very thankful to makeup in that aspect as well. So that's pretty incredible. It makes sense to me to add red into this, so I'm going to go a little bit Joker happy, if we will, because nothing quite, it's that imperfection that I also feel, that kind of idea where it's like, you get home after the end of the day and you've cried your mascara off and you tried to put a lip on to make yourself feel a little bit better, but it didn't really work, and now it's just all kind of broken and ripped apart and just like nothing quite feels right. But at the same time, it's that end of the day kind of wiping that mask off and making sure that, you've almost cleansed yourself of everything. Now, the best way that I could interpret to talk about that kind of, my illness is an entity that I keep, almost like on a leash, but it's always there sitting beside me, sitting on top of me, kind of not really allowing me to do anything. I'm actually going to cover my hand in this red, and I'm going to leave a handprint that kind of signifies that it's always there, kind of gripping, like ready, just kind of slap me down a couple pegs if I'm getting a little bit too cocky. That's the one thing about a chemical imbalance in your brain is you have no physical or emotional control over it. It just happens. So I'm going to grip that handprint. And I wanted to pull it down into my neck a little bit because at times it definitely feels like it's gripping my neck in the worst type of way. So this is my inside out challenge, if you will. Just add a little bit of black onto the neck there to give it a little bit more definition. You know, it's definitely not a pretty look. I don't think I'd rock this on the runway anytime soon, but this experience already has been pretty cathartic, and I hope that you enjoyed listening to me ramble on about craziness and makeup and all that different type of things. So thank you so much for spending this time with me and kind of experiencing this along with me. Give me a like, give me a subscribe, whatever, you know, just be you and don't worry about what other people are kind of concerned about doing, okay? Thanks, guys. Bye.